Hello again and welcome to Gib Week. Well, in the program this week, the Alameda Gardens. Are they still beautiful? The 5-day plan for smokers, does it really work? A designer called Freddie Ryman. And charisma. Do our politicians have it? But we start with an eyesore. And Gibraltar, it seems, is a pretty difficult place to keep clean and tidy. And it's fair to say, I think, that this is a problem that concerns us all, not just one particular sector. A constant eyesore is the sight of derelict trucks and cars that seem to abound these days everywhere. Stephen Nish has been finding out more.
This is one of 3 police compounds where cars are placed to await their fate. In some cases, it's a happy reunion with their owners, but more often than not, it's a bumpy ride down the chutes. The problem of derelict or abandoned cars is perhaps not as much in the limelight as some others in our community, such as the dumping of refuse and the problem of car parking space. But with over 500 cars already disposed of this year and another 100 lying in wait, it still provides the police with a sizable headache. Over the last 20 years, the number of cars in Gibraltar has trebled, and with it, so the number of derelicts has increased threefold. At present, the responsibility for tackling the problem rests with the removal of vehicles section of the police's traffic department, led by Inspector Paul Riley. The first thing he has to do is decide when a vehicle is actually abandoned.
An abandoned vehicle is a vehicle which we consider to have been left for a long period of time in a situation whereby it's either broken down in such dangerous circumstances, i.e. that the wheels have been taken off it and it's jacked up on blocks, and the windows are broken, and that the owner cannot be traced.
This would appear straightforward enough, but first, the police have to establish whether the owner can be traced or not. For local cars, the process is usually not too complicated. In any case, if the owner isn't around, the car is impounded and kept there for 4 weeks. After that, notice is given in the Gazette that the offending vehicle is to be done away with, and the hapless owner has a further 7 days to claim his property. There is one snag, though. He'll have to pay a £25 fee for having had the car towed away, and a further £5 for each day it was in the compound. When we are talking about foreign cars, the procedure is more complex.
The procedure for an abandoned vehicle which is foreign is that we'll contact Interpol, we'll obtain all the particulars of the vehicle, and then through Interpol, we'll try and contact the owners. We'll try and obtain as much information about that vehicle as possible, and if the vehicle has been abandoned in Gibraltar, if the person wants to dispose of it. Depending on the results from the UK or from Interpol, is what action we'll take, either to investigate the vehicle if the vehicle's been stolen, or we will impound the vehicle and await for 4 weeks, gazette the vehicle, then in 7 days after gazetting, we'll dispose of it.
So in the case of foreign vehicles, it presumably does take quite long before you can actually dispose of it, if it has to go to Interpol and so on.
Well, yes. As soon as we send away our telex to Interpol, Interpol gets in contact with whichever country it is, where the owner of the abandoned vehicle lives. And then, depending on the beat bobby who usually goes to look for the owner of the vehicle, depending on how long it takes his investigation over there, as to how long it'll take our investigation over here.
The problem has got worse since the opening of the frontier. Inspector Riley explains why.
A lot of foreign vehicles are accumulating, mainly in the Bayside Road area, whereby persons come over from abroad to look for spare parts, or possibly using the vehicle as a form of cheap holiday for using for the south of Spain, coming here, leaving their vehicle, and then getting on a plane and going back home. Most certainly since the frontier has opened, our job has tripled in that area.
But help is at hand. In the near future, the problem will be largely handed over to the Gibraltar Security Services Company and its traffic wardens.
The procedure is changing. In fact, it is already law that if you wish to dispose of a vehicle at this moment in time, you should in actual fact take down your traffic documents down to the licensing department, and for a fee of £5, they will make all the arrangements for having your vehicle disposed of, and they will then issue you with a certificate to say that the vehicle has been disposed of. This is the thing that will be happening in the very near future. As I say, it's already in law, but because of different practicalities, teething problems, if you wish. It's not being enforced at this moment in time. If a person wishes to dispose of a vehicle at this moment in time, then they should come down to the traffic department or go to Central Police Station, and we'll issue them with a form and we'll dispose of the vehicle as soon as possible.
Teething problems over, the authorities will soon be in a position to impose the £500 statutory fine for abandoning a vehicle on a public highway. The message is clear. If you've got a car you no longer want, make sure you go through the proper channels.
Derelict cars on our roads. The Alameda Gardens, always described as beautiful. But these days they've received a bit of criticism. People say that they're unkempt and untidy and not looking so good, and people are also wondering about their future. What of the future of the Alameda Gardens? Well, just recently the Tourist Office has taken charge of that particular area, and Helen Sawyer has put this report together for us.
The Alameda Gardens, one of Gibraltar's most attractive features, situated in peaceful surroundings away from the traffic and the noise to the south of the town area. Alameda is the Spanish word for a public promenade lined with trees. The gardens were opened to the public on the 14th of April 1816 after Governor Sir George Donne gave permission for money to be raised for its construction by means of a lottery. Sadly, a large section of the Alameda Gardens disappeared after the Second World War to make way for much-needed accommodation for returning evacuees. All that remains for those who are old enough to remember what the place looked like before the war are faded memories. Today, 172 years on, the Alameda Gardens enter a new era of change and future development. Until 2 months ago, the Public Works Department was responsible for its upkeep. It is now in the hands of the government's Tourist Office, who are looking at ways of making the Alameda Gardens one of Gibraltar's main touristic sites. I spoke to Dr. Clive Finlayson about the future of the gardens.
We view the future of the Alameda Gardens as being developed as a public garden, but also with the emphasis on the botanical side. There are very interesting and rich flora here. But also within that, we would like to provide a number of amenities which would be available not just to visitors but also to people here. They're just ideas at the moment. We're exploring a number of ideas which we hope will come to fruition soon, but I would include examples such as possibly an aviary, a place where people could come and see small animals, and possibly a limited number of amusements available for children to come and play, and so on, and possibly even, why not, a place where you could come and have some refreshments. That is the line that we would like, to see the Alameda going towards. Always retaining the botanical character of the place.
What changes would you like to see in the Alameda Gardens as a whole?
Well, perhaps I could put that in context, if you like, very briefly, to explain the way we look at the touristic products. And of course, when I say the touristic product, you must bear in mind that we are a tourism department, but everything that we're looking for and we're trying to do will obviously reflect and be of benefit to the general public, not just to tourists. But our own ideas for the touristic product and its development for the future are to view the whole of Gibraltar, if you like, as a kind of theme park. I mean, I'm sure the term is familiar to most people, but a theme park which is unique in its way, which would highlight things such as Gibraltar's well-known history, its wildlife in other areas, the marine, the sea life, naval history, the meeting of two continents, and all these themes which are very, very interesting. So we view Gibraltar as a very peculiar kind of theme park, which would be attractive to tourists. And everything that we want to do is to develop it along these lines. And the Alameda, we feel, has a very important part to play in this idea, if you like, this concept. It's an area which is close to the town. It's near a large car park. And is visited by local people and also by tourists, and we hope to attract more.
The gardens have, to a certain degree, become quite filthy recently. Is the new move of taking it to the tourism department perhaps a step in the right direction? Are they going to clean it up, make it nice and clean?
We are certainly making sure that the place is kept tidy and clean, but of course you must remember that gardens as such is not just a question of keeping the roads free from litter, for example, but it's also a question of practical gardening. And among one of the things which we have already embarked upon is we've had a good look at the staffing and the structure of the staffing involved in the gardening section. I must emphasize this because the section doesn't just run the Alameda Gardens. They're involved in areas, all the planted areas in Gibraltar, areas such as Waterport, all the roundabouts, and all these flower beds here and there, which take up a lot of time. And certainly we have had a very close look at this, and the move at the moment is towards providing perhaps more of the gardeners and fewer of the sort of the general purpose people. So our hope is in fact to not only to clean up this area and other areas related to the section, but also to do more of the gardening side of it, which perhaps has been neglected a little bit until now.
So what would you require to make all these projects, hopes and ambitions concrete? Are we going to see them as a reality in the near future?
Well, I cannot answer you definitely, as with all things, but certainly we are trying very hard, and we have a lot of very good ideas, and I think that with a little bit of luck, I think you will see this happening very quickly.
What are your earliest memories of the Alameda Gardens as a boy?
My own? Oh, you've caught me there. As you know, I've always been very interested in nature, natural history. Not just ornithology, but plants in general. And I've always remembered the Alameda Gardens as a young boy, as coming here perhaps with a different purpose from most people would come. And I still see a lot of young children coming here bird watching and so on. And those are my early recollections, seeing lots of very interesting migratory birds, wintering birds coming here, which is perhaps another function of these gardens, their ecological function. They are very, very important. There's lots of very interesting plants, fruiting plants in the winter, which attract lots of very exciting species if you happen to be a bird watcher.
The Alamedas, trees, flowers and hedges are looked after by the government's gardening section. A dedicated team of men, headed by Mr. Jimmy Banda, are on the go all the year round to ensure that the greenery is always looking its best. How have you seen the Alameda Gardens developing over the years, in all the years that you've known it? How have you seen it change and develop?
Well, I haven't seen it actually developing the way that I would like it to be. When this year I think it's a bit better. I'm a bit more pleased with this year. I think we are doing a renovation of the flower beds. We want to implement some of the lawns around, some elderly lawns. And I think some last years haven't seen it very well. I think there is a bit of improvement now, and I think it's going to be more when we push in this new program that the Tourist Department has brought out. I think we're going to be able to improve the Alameda Garden the way I would like to see it, obviously.
What would you like to see the Alameda Garden? In your mind, if you had ultimate control and if you could do anything you wanted, what would you like to see here?
Obviously I'd like to see it flourishing and full of flowers and green and well maintained, up to a standard.
What do you see as your main challenge? You've been in the Alameda Garden section now for nearly 25 years. What do you see as the main challenge that lies ahead for you in keeping up the Alameda as beautiful as it is?
Well, the main challenge is we have had a couple of meetings with the Tourist Department, Mr. Clive Phillinson, and we have interchanged ideas. And the Tourist Department have come out with a program which I think is going to be beneficial for the park, actually. And one of my main challenges will be to keep it up in order. I mean, we're going to try to improve the park, actually. We're going to try to do our best, and I think we're going to achieve that.
So, with all the changes and future developments of Gibraltar's largest recreational gardens, what would you like to see done at the Alameda?
Well, it certainly needs for improvement, particularly lighting at night, so that people can walk safely in it. I think the gardener himself is doing a good job. The fringes need a bit of tidying up, especially where I live across. There's a lot of rubbish and it needs to be tended. But it's something that it's been ours for donkey's years, and we don't want to see it spoiled. In fact, we want it embellished.
I think that there should be, the flowers at least should be taken care of. There could be a form of a park, like a zoo, where we could have the fauna of Gibraltar and maybe some ponds with the fishes to beautify it. That's what we have to do.
A nice playground for the children, especially for the children. There's nothing in Gibraltar for them to really run about. Nice pitch to play football. I've got 2 kids, and on Sundays, I don't really know where to take them.
Maybe a nice cafeteria where everybody can have their tea and, a drink, something like that.
I'd like to see them, I'd like to see the gardens more restored
and looking nice and tidy as they used to be.
It's much cleaner, sort of, some funfair for the kids. I think that would be nice. They had some, little horses or things like that, and perhaps, a nice open-air cafe for the tourists. And now that Gibraltar's getting sort of more prosperous, I think would be a good idea to have, more development and attract more people to go and sit there in the summer and in the spring and see the nice gardens with all the nice flowers and everything.
A clean, well-kept garden for people to enjoy, that's all.
A few months ago, I went to Brussels with 12 travel agents, and that in itself has little or no significance. But what was significant was the fact that 11 out of those 12 travel agents were non-smokers. And what was even more amazing was the fact that most of those 11 did smoke in the past, which went to show that they are really trying to kick the habit. And I believe that most of those still don't smoke today. In the UK and in many places, no smoking is allowed in many areas. And I just read recently that there is a union that's negotiating smoke breaks with one particular employer who has employees that adopt this antisocial habit. Well, just recently in Gibraltar, about 2.5 weeks ago, a 5-day plan for smokers was presented at the John Mackintosh Hall. By all accounts, it was very well attended, and 2 of those people that attended that presentation are here with me tonight, and we're going to chat to them. They are Marilyn and Elizabeth. Well, thank you for coming, ladies. And I'm just wondering how it's going for you. It must be pretty difficult at this stage when it's about 2.5 weeks now since that presentation at the John Mac Hall, and I suppose you're really going hard now to try and keep away from that pack of cigarettes.
Well, I am. I'm finding it very difficult. We'll just see let's see how far I can go. But I am finding it difficult. I'm obviously substituting the cigarette with juices and fruit as we were told in the Mackintosh Hall, and it helps a lot. But it is difficult. I've been smoking now for so many years, and I'm finding it quite difficult.
And what about you, Elizabeth?
I was finding it difficult ever since the first day. But funny enough, the way that it's worked for me was that a couple of days ago, it got so tense at work that I looked around for that cigarette and I said, I must have that cigarette. I lit the cigarette and it tasted so bad that now I can truly say I'll never smoke again.
You're quite convinced about that?
Convinced.
And it wasn't because you were chewing a special gum or anything like that?
No, the substitute that we were given for the first day mainly were juices, plenty of water, and that's what I was doing. But even then, that wasn't helping me. In my mind, I kept thinking to myself, oh, I wish I could get that cigarette. And I did it, and yet it's worked for me, having taken that cigarette, the first puff, like we say, and I'll never smoke again.
Let's talk about the 5-day plan. I know that the John Mac Hall was well attended for these 5 days, but a lot of people, of course, didn't make it, especially as it was 5 days. Some people might have made it for 1 day, other people for another day, but perhaps not the 5 days. What was involved in the plan?
They showed some very good films indeed. They demonstrated, which impressed me immensely, with they had like a little plastic doll, and they lit a cigarette and put it in the doll's mouth, and they sort of started squeezing the doll, making it inhale and exhale, and he left it on the table, and then he started talking to the public, and then after a while he opened the doll and he showed us what it did exactly to you. I mean, we've seen it on television before, but it really impressed me, it stayed in my mind. And
almost a real-life demonstration.
Yes, it was a little doll. It was quite good, and I mean the whole inside of the doll was black, and it was only one cigarette. And he showed the doll before white, and then he closed it. And when he finished the cigarette, it was completely black inside. And I don't know. I tend to think that's what we're doing to ourselves inside, and you don't really want to think about this. But when you see it again and again.
Yes.
You realize that is we are really doing something to ourselves.
Harming our bodies.
Harming ourselves.
On to the next days. What would happen on the Tuesdays, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Well, we were shown every day we went there. We were shown a film, One was a film of the heart, sort of the heart being a person, put it that way. The heart would be talking. You would be seeing this film of the heart, the work the heart does in the body. And sort of you could see then this man driving a car, but the heart was the one that was talking, like sort of behind the scene. And you could see this man driving all tensed up because he was late for work and he lit a cigarette. You know, a person who knows about smoking knows how it feels when you're driving along and you know you're getting late for somewhere and your first instinct, light a cigarette. And the bloke, you know, he'd light a cigarette. And then the heart would say, now, I feel all tensed up. He's all tensed. Now more blood has to be pumped out and all this, you know. And you realized that for any little thing in life, the instinct of the smoker was to light a cigarette. Then the following day you'd get the life of a child, a mother that was pregnant, and then the child being born, and then the child speaking for herself, that she couldn't stand the smell of the cigarette that her mother was smoking, and that she prayed to God that one day her mother would decide to stop. Eventually, the end of the story was that the mother tried very hard to stop. She wouldn't pay attention. She wouldn't listen to the doctors, wouldn't listen to the daughter or her husband. She eventually had lung cancer.
So those demonstrations were made as real as possible, which was,
yes.
of course, much better than just telling a story, isn't it?
Something that stayed quite on my mind was a real true story. They showed a picture of this young lady. She must have been 30, and she was with her husband and her family, young, pretty, very pretty. And in 6 weeks she had lung cancer. She was interviewed, and she said, "I know I'm ill, but I feel as if I'm getting better." I mean, her hair had completely gone, and she looked really, really thin. And after that, the film just stopped there, and then this gentleman came out saying 6 days afterwards she died. And funnily enough, I said, "Oh my God." And my cousin turned around and said, "You'll never smoke again." You know, and it was on that moment that I said, I think I'll quit, no? But we'll see how it goes.
So what sort of a plan is given to you now? I mean, do you have to drink and eat certain things to help you along?
I'm doing it. I'm carrying on doing the plan, eating the fruit, buying juices. I need to, because the craving for a cigarette is still there. And it also says, after a meal, I really feel like a cigarette, don't sit down. If you sit down, it shows you all this on film. If you sit down, you will pick the cigarette up. It's even been known, people haven't smoked for 3 or 4 months, and automatically they've been offered a cigarette, they're in a conversation, they've picked the cigarette up, and they've lit it. And they say, "What am I doing? I haven't smoked for months." It becomes a habit.
So as a final question then to you, Elizabeth, first, you're pretty convinced that she won't touch another cigarette again, ever?
Pretty convinced, yeah.
And you, Marilyn?
No, I can't say. I wish I wouldn't. I wish I would never, ever touch a cigarette again.
But isn't that thinking negatively instead of positively? I will not smoke again.
I wish I could. But I'm...
You're being realistic.
I am being realistic. I am.
You must remember that.
I hope I will never, ever smoke again. And after seeing some films that I've seen at the Macintosh Hall, I've seen them on TV, but this one stayed very, very much in my mind. And I want to live a long life.
Marilyn and Elizabeth, if this is what you want to do, we wish you success.
Thank you very much.
Gibraltar is to have its own coins, and the man that's designed the images of those coins is Freddie Ryman, who's been a stamp designer for many, many years. Helen Sawyer went along to meet him.
Freddie, how did you start off in your career as a successful graphic designer?
Well, as a successful one until 1966. I used to do some design work before that, but in 1966 was when I first started with stamp designing. Before that, I used to do commercial work like advertising, the lottery designs, but in 1966 was when I first started stamp designing.
Did you find that your desire to continue work in this field stemmed from a hobby that you had as a child, perhaps, interested in art and drawing?
I've always liked art and drawing. What happened is that I started drawing as a part-time job, as a hobby. But once I got so involved with stamps, and coins and advertising, well, automatically you sort of get engrossed and it's difficult to run away from it.
What would you say a good graphic designer needs as a essential quality, apart from the ability to draw? Would you say a good imagination is essential?
That is very essential. Another thing is being able to read the mind of the customer, to know what he wants and put it on paper. I think that's one of the most essential things. And of course, be a good businessman, because you have to sell something that is non-existent, because you have to sell a drawing which is already done. I mean, it's not like when you go to a shop, you buy an article where you can try, test it, or this is something you're selling an idea, and it's very difficult to sell an idea.
Going through the range of your work, from stamps to lottery designs, the Calpex exhibition, now your latest venture with the Gibraltar coins, tell us a little about the variety of work that you do.
Well, I do quite a lot. Stamps, I do a lot, as you well know. Coins, I've done coins before. I did the last 5 shilling coin, is my design, the one with the monkeys. I did the one for the Royal Engineers, Freedom of a City. I've done quite a number of coins before, but this is the bigger venture of coins that I've done. You know, the biggest set. I've done the whole set for the Gibraltar coinage and the bullion coins.
Would you say that you had a favourite aspect of your job? Is stamps perhaps your first love?
No, it's difficult to choose. The same as when you do a drawing, you kind of fall in love with your work. Otherwise, you wouldn't sell any. No, I don't think designers can fall in love with the work. And I'm never satisfied. I always find something wrong with them. Or at least I think I could always do better.
How long does it take you from the seed of the idea to coming up with the final product?
Well, I think it's practice, but I do it very quickly. It's not that I work quickly too, but the idea comes very quickly. And it depends, of course, on the subject and what you're doing. But it doesn't take that long. I think most of the designers take more time to think of what they're going to put on paper. Well, for me, it's simple to think before I put it on paper. I already know what I want and what the customer wants. You see, I think it's a gift of God, I think, or something. I don't know, it must be, because I'm very quick on that.
How do you see the future of graphic design in Gibraltar?
I think Gibraltar has become more popular and more cosmopolitan, and I think that the future of the designer, it's very, very extensive. I mean, they can do a lot of work, especially now with Spain. But it's a question of getting international, going out, no?
And if there are any young people who might be in school who perhaps might want to make a career out of graphic design, what would you advise them to do?
First of all, they must work very hard, because a designer like a pianist or anything like that, you must be good. There's a number of them, quite a number of them, but not all are good. You must be a good one. Otherwise, you'll be what we call from the bunch. There's many designers, like many singers, but you must, if you're a good one, you're bound to get work. Because, as I said before, designer, you have to convince your customer that what you are proposing is good, and what you are offering them is something that is going to make them money.
Much has been said about charisma. I'm sure you've heard that word bandied about many, many times before. It's been said that people like Gandhi, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, people like that had stacks of it. It's also been said that the reason why Michael Dukakis didn't do so well in the last US presidential election just gone by might have been because he lacked a little of that charisma. Well, have you asked yourselves, what is charisma? Well, I looked it up in the Oxford Dictionary of Current English, and it says that charisma is the ability to inspire followers with devotion and enthusiasm, a divinely conferred power or talent. Well, closer to home, we went downtown to find out if you think that our politicians have charisma, and which one, in fact, has the most of that magic ingredient.
Charisma? Well, I think Mr. Wasana has a lot of charisma, and he's doing a very good job at the moment.
I think at the moment one can say Joe Wasano. I believe that before my time at least, Sir Joshua was the best. At the moment I think internationally Joe Wasano is doing quite a good job.
Well, personally, I think Wasano has got the most style.
I can think of Maurice Giberes for one. Bob Palisa, Sir Joshua, of course, Joe, naturally, our Chief Minister, Michael Feetham, I think, as well.
Sir Joe.
Which Joe? There are many.
Bossano. Joe Bossano, Peter Isra, Bob Palisa, Triai. They have a special thing about them, you know, this is it, you know.
Charisma. I wonder if I can inspire you to follow us to Gib Week in 7 days' time. Good night.